Ethan had never been a night owl. His small, suburban neighborhood usually slipped into peaceful silence by 10, every house dimmed and still, except tonight. The air was thick with a chill that crept under his jacket, and the streetlights flickered in the fog like ghostly sentinels. Returning from a late shift at the electronics store, he felt unusually alert, like something unseen was watching. He unlocked his front door quietly, trying not to wake his cat, Miko, who usually greeted him with a lazy purr. But as soon as he stepped into the kitchen, a sharp noise drifted from the backyard, the unmistakable sound of movement, hurried and deliberate. Ethan froze, his senses sharpening. It wasn't the usual rustle of wind through leaves or the careless footsteps of a raccoon. This was deliberate. Someone or something was out there. He grabbed the old flashlight from the kitchen drawer, its beam weak but enough to cut through the fog. Sliding the back door open just an inch, he peered into the gloom. The garden looked deserted until the light caught a glimpse of movement near the old oak tree at the far corner. There, crouched low, was a figure unlike any Ethan had ever seen. At first, his mind tried to force an explanation, a neighbor, a lost traveler. But as the beam steadied, the figure shimmered faintly, almost as if glowing softly beneath the moonlight. The skin was pale, but with an ethereal, almost translucent quality, and the eyes, those huge violet eyes, were too large, too luminous to belong to a human. Ethan swallowed hard, his breath catching. The figure looked up and met his gaze. Eyes wide with fear and pleading. "Please us, don't be afraid," a voice whispered. It was soft but carried an urgent weight, thick with an unfamiliar accent. What are you?" Ethan asked, taking a cautious step closer. The figure straightened, revealing a slender frame draped in strange clothing, dark, torn fabric that fluttered even though the air was still. The hair was long and silver, catching the moonlight and floating as if underwater. "My name is Lyra," she said, voice trembling. "I'm hiding. They are coming." Ethan's instinct screamed at him to run, to slam the door shut and call the police. But something in her eyes, something vulnerable and human, held him rooted. "They?" he asked, scanning the shadows nervously. "Yes. They want to capture me. I have nowhere else to go." Before he could respond, a sudden sound tore through the night, the harsh crackle of radios and footsteps pounding toward the house. Ethan's heart pounded in his chest like a war drum. Inside. "Now," Lyra urged. He helped her up, guiding her through the kitchen and into the living room. He locked the back door behind them, his hands trembling. The stranger's eyes darted to every window, every corner. "Who sent them?" Ethan asked, breathless. "An authority beyond your world. They hunt me because I know things. Secrets. Secrets about what?" Ethan pressed, desperate for answers. She shook her head. "Too dangerous. I can only say, trust no one outside this room." A muffled shout came from the front door. Someone was trying to break in. Ethan grabbed an old baseball bat from the corner, the familiar weight oddly comforting. "We need to barricade this." Lyra's gaze softened briefly. "You are brave. Most humans would have fled." "We don't get many surprises around here," Ethan muttered, "but I'm not about to let strangers break in." They pushed furniture against the door. The pounding grew louder, more frantic. Suddenly, Lyra raised her hand, palm outward. A shimmering barrier of light burst to life, glowing blue and humming softly. Ethan stared, mouth agape, as the intruder's tools shattered against it like sparks on steel. "Run," Lyra said urgently, grabbing his arm. "What? Where?" "Anywhere. But here, I will hold them." "No way, we stick together." Her eyes flashed. "If you come with me, you risk everything. But if you stay, they will tear this place apart." The pounding escalated into crashing. Ethan's mind raced. Could he trust her? Was this some nightmare? Then the front door splintered, sending shards flying. Lyra's barrier flared, pushing. back the intruders for a heartbeat, but it was failing. "Go!" she shouted. Reluctantly, Ethan nodded. They slipped out the back, disappearing into the fog. They ran, past the oak, past the garden shed, into the shadowed streets where fog swallowed their footsteps. Ethan's breath came in ragged gasps. "What are you running from?" Lyra glanced. "Back, eyes fierce with determination. From a war you can't imagine, and from a truth that could change everything you know." Her words hung heavy in the mist. Ethan had never believed in aliens. Now the impossible was standing right beside him, and the chase had only just begun. Running into the unknown, Ethan's lungs burned as he sprinted down the fog-drenched street beside Lyra. Every shadow seemed alive, every whisper of wind a warning. His heart hammered, not just from exertion, but from a sudden, chilling awareness. This was no ordinary chase. They weren't just running from local police or neighborhood troublemakers. The danger was something else entirely. "Who are they?" Ethan gasped, struggling to keep up. Lyra's silver hair flickered like liquid moonlight, her violet eyes scanning the mist ahead. "They are called the Vicari, enforcers of laws far beyond your world. They hunt those who know too much, like me." Ethan shook his head in disbelief. "Vicari, laws beyond our world? You mean you're not from Earth?" She hesitated, then nodded. "I am from a planet called Seralis, far beyond your solar system. But I fled here years ago. I escaped a fate worse than death." Ethan slowed for a moment, trying to absorb the surreal truth. His neighbor, the quiet woman no one really knew, was an alien fugitive hiding on Earth. The normal life he had led for years, shattered into 1,000 pieces. But why here? "Why Earth?" Ethan asked, the fog swirling around them like a curtain of secrets. Lyra's voice softened, tinged with sadness. "Earth is remote, forgotten by many, a sanctuary for some. But now they have found me." Ahead, the streets began to thin out. The cozy suburb faded into a patchwork of overgrown fields and abandoned factories, a perfect place to disappear or get cornered. Suddenly, a low humming noise vibrated through the air. Ethan froze, eyes darting around. "They're coming," Lyra whispered urgently, pulling him toward a rusty chain-link fence. Beyond the fence was a dilapidated warehouse, its windows shattered, walls covered in creeping ivy. "This way," she urged, pushing open a heavy metal door that groaned in protest. Inside, shadows swallowed them. The air was stale, filled with dust and the faint scent of oil and rust. Ethan's flashlight cut a narrow path through the darkness. "And can't stay here long," Lyra said, glancing nervously toward the entrance. "They will track my energy signature." "What energy signature?" Ethan asked, every muscle tense. Lyra placed a trembling hand over her chest. "I emit a signal, a frequency tied to my life force. The Vicari have devices that can detect it. If they get too close, they will find me." The thought was chilling. Ethan looked around, spotting old crates stacked haphazardly, rusted. Machinery, broken tools scattered on the floor. "Do you have a plan?" he asked, trying to keep his voice steady. Lyra's eyes glimmered. "We need to reach the underground tunnels beneath the city. There is a place where they can't follow, but it's dangerous." Ethan nodded, swallowing his fear. "Lead the way!" As they moved cautiously through the warehouse, Ethan's mind raced. Who was Lyra really? What secrets did she carry that made her such a target? And what did it mean for him, an ordinary man who just wanted a quiet life? Suddenly a sharp metallic clang echoed from the far corner. Both froze. "Someone's here," Lyra whispered. Ethan gripped the bat tighter, moving toward the noise. Out of the shadows stepped a man, but unlike any man Ethan had seen. His skin shimmered faintly like Lyra's, but his eyes were cold and calculating. He wore a dark uniform, adorned with strange insignias. "Stop right there," the stranger ordered, voice calm but deadly. Lyra stepped protectively in front of Ethan. I warned you. Don't come any closer, the man smirked. Lyra, you're making this difficult. The Vicari don't take kindly to fugitives. Ethan's blood ran cold. Who is he? He asked in a whisper. An agent of the Vicari. He's been tracking me for months. Lyra replied, eyes blazing. The agent's hand flicked, and a small device in his palm emitted a piercing sound. Ethan stumbled, clutching his head as a wave of disorientation swept over him. You should leave, Lyra said fiercely, before you get hurt. But Ethan shook his head. No, I'm not leaving you. The agent laughed darkly. Brave human, but naive. Before Ethan could react, the agent lunged, a flash of silver in his hand, a weapon unlike anything Ethan had seen, glowing with an eerie blue light. Lyra moved in a blur, her hands weaving strange patterns in the air. A pulse of energy surged from her palms, striking the agent and sending him crashing against a wall. He groaned, struggling to rise. Ethan stared, breathless. What was that? Ceralesian energy, Lyra explained. It's all I have to protect myself. The agent snarled, pulling a communicator from his belt. Backup is en route. Prepare to capture her. Ethan's eyes widened. We have to get out of here, now. Lyra nodded. Follow me. They sprinted through the maze of broken machinery and crates, the sound of footsteps growing louder behind them. Reaching a metal grate in the floor, Lyra pushed it open, revealing a steep ladder descending into darkness. Down here, she urged. Ethan hesitated, then clutched the ladder and followed her into the cold, damp tunnel below. The air smelled of earth and mildew. Their footsteps echoed as they moved deeper into the underground network. This place used to be a shelter during old wars, Ethan said, trying to catch his breath. I never thought I'd see it again. Lyra looked around, her face hardening. It's the only place they won't follow me. They paused at a fork in the tunnels. We need to split up, Lyra said. I will lead the Vicari away. You must keep moving toward the city outskirts. Find help. Ethan shook his head. I'm not leaving you. You don't understand, she said quietly. If they capture me, everything is lost. But if I can buy time, maybe you can change things. Change what? Ethan demanded. The future, your world's future. The secrets I carry could save humanity, or doom it. The weight of her words settled on Ethan like a stone. Before he could protest, a distant rumble echoed through the tunnels. They're coming, Lyra said urgently. Wait, Ethan said, gripping her arm. She looked at him, eyes softening. Promise me you'll keep running. He nodded reluctantly. She pressed a small, glowing device into his palm. If you ever need me, this will find me. Ethan swallowed his fear and watched as Lyra slipped into the shadows, disappearing down a narrow tunnel. Alone, Ethan sprinted toward the exit, heart pounding. As he emerged into the cold night air, the city lights flickered in the distance, a beacon of hope and danger. Behind him, the tunnels trembled with the pursuit of relentless enemies. Ethan knew his life was forever changed. He was no longer just a man with a quiet suburban life. He was now part of a cosmic struggle he barely understood. And somewhere in the darkness, Lyra fought for survival, and for a secret that could alter the fate of two worlds. Secrets beneath. The surface Ethan's chest heaved as he burst out from the tunnels into the chilly night air. The city stretched before him like a sprawling labyrinth of shadows and light, a maze of streets he barely recognized in the haze of adrenaline and fear. Clutched tightly in his palm was the small glowing device Lyra had given him. A lifeline to the unknown. He stumbled forward, every nerve screaming with the weight of the past few hours. The thought of Lyra alone, running from relentless hunters beneath the city, clawed at his heart. What secret did she carry, he wondered. What truth was so dangerous that entire armies pursued her? Ethan's phone buzzed suddenly. He pulled it. From his pocket, his breath catching, a single message from an unknown number appeared. "Trust no one. Find Dr. Malik." The message vanished before Ethan could respond. Dr. Malik. The name was unfamiliar, but it felt like a clue, a thread to unravel this growing mystery. His mind flashed back to his university days. He remembered hearing about a reclusive scientist named Amir Malik, who had disappeared years ago after claiming to have discovered proof of extraterrestrial life. Ethan had dismissed it then as conspiracy nonsense. But now, everything felt connected. He pushed forward, weaving through quiet streets until he reached the old university campus on the edge of town. The buildings loomed like ghosts in the moonlight. He approached the science department, the windows dark and the doors locked tight. But as he circled the building, he noticed a faint light flickering in one of the labs on the second floor. He hesitated, heart pounding. Could this be Malik's lab? Was the scientist still here? Ethan found an unlocked side door and slipped inside. The hallway smelled of old books and stale air. His footsteps echoed as he climbed the creaky stairs. Reaching the lab, he peered through. The glass. Inside, a man hunched over a cluttered desk, surrounded by strange instruments and stacks of papers. His graying hair was unkempt, and his eyes, magnified behind thick glasses, darted nervously. Ethan cleared his throat. The man jumped, startled, then relaxed when he saw Ethan's face. "You must be Ethan," the man said softly. "Lyra sent you, didn't she?" "How do you know?" Ethan asked, heart pounding. "Because I've been waiting for someone like you," Dr. Malik said. "Someone who can help her, someone who can change everything." Ethan stepped inside as the door clicked shut behind him. Questions flooded his mind. Who is Lyra, really? Why is she being hunted? Ethan asked urgently. Dr. Malik sighed, rubbing his tired eyes. "She's a fugitive, yes, but not just any fugitive. She carries knowledge about a cosmic war that threatens not only her world, but ours as well." Ethan frowned. "A cosmic war?" "Yes," Malik said, pulling out a holographic projection from a hidden device. "Oh, room filled with swirling stars and planets. The Vakari are agents of an empire that seeks to control all sentient life across galaxies. They view humans as insignificant, but Lyra has uncovered something they fear, a weapon buried deep within Earth's history, capable of turning the tide." Ethan's mind reeled. "A weapon? On Earth?" Malik nodded gravely. "Not just any weapon. Something ancient, hidden long before humans walked this planet. Lyra's people have searched for it for centuries, and now the Vakari have too." Suddenly, the device in Ethan's hand beeped urgently. He glanced down. The glowing orb pulsed faster, an incoming signal from Lyra. "She's in trouble," Ethan said, panic rising. Dr. Malik's face hardened. "Then we don't have much time. You must help her find the weapon before the Vakari do. It's the only hope to stop them." Ethan swallowed hard. This was bigger than anything he had ever imagined. "How do we start?" he asked. Malik handed him a small data chip. "This contains coordinates to an ancient site beneath the city, a place Lyra believes holds the key. But beware, the Vakari will stop at nothing to get there first." As Ethan took the chip, the building suddenly trembled. An explosion rocked the university grounds, and alarms blared. "The Vakari have found us," Malik said grimly. "Go! Now!" Ethan dashed toward the exit as the lights flickered, and the floor shook beneath his feet. He could hear heavy footsteps pounding the hallways, soldiers hunting down the fugitive aliens' allies. Bursting out into the night once more, Ethan clutched the chip tightly. His mind raced with 1,000 thoughts. Fear, hope, confusion, but most of all, determination. He wasn't just a man running from danger anymore. He was part of something bigger, A battle for survival, for freedom, for the future of two worlds. As he disappeared into the shadows, the city seemed to hold its breath, waiting for what would come next. Race against time. The city's underbelly was a maze of forgotten tunnels, abandoned stations, and long-sealed chambers. Ethan's footsteps echoed harshly as he followed the coordinates Dr. Malik had given him, the data chip securely tucked in his pocket. Every sound made him flinch, the distant drip of water, the rumble of underground trains, the faint scurry of unseen creatures. He could still feel the cold sweat on his back from the explosion at the university. The Vicari were closing in, relentless and brutal. If they caught Lyra, or worse, Ethan, everything would be lost. He stopped for a moment, catching his breath in the dim light of his small flashlight. Pulling the chip from his pocket, he inserted it into his phone. A holographic map flickered to life, showing a location beneath the old city ruins, a place Ethan had never heard of, marked with a glowing symbol he guessed was alien. "Ancient," he whispered, tracing the symbol with his finger. "This is where Lyra believes the weapon is hidden." His phone buzzed again. A text from Lyra. "I'm here. Need your help. Hurry." Ethan's heart pounded. She was so close, but in danger. He dashed forward, moving faster through the maze of tunnels. As he neared the marked location, the air grew thick, damp, and heavy with age. The walls were lined with strange glyphs and symbols that pulsed, faintly with otherworldly energy. Suddenly the ground shook violently. Vicari. Ethan cursed under his breath. He sprinted toward the entrance of an ancient chamber, a colossal underground cavern carved into the bedrock, filled with strange alien architecture glowing faintly under his light. At the center, he saw Lyra. Her alien form was smaller than he expected, graceful and tense, as she worked frantically on a complex device embedded in the floor. "Ethan!" she called, eyes wide with relief and fear. "You came. I'm here," he said, moving to her side. "But they're coming. We don't have much time." The device hummed louder as Lyra's hands moved quickly, connecting wires and tapping into panels that shimmered with strange energy. "What is this?" Ethan asked, watching in awe. Lyra's voice was urgent. "This is the key, the weapon Malik told you about. It's a defensive system created by an ancient race to protect Earth from cosmic invaders like the Vicari." Ethan's mind reeled. "So this could stop them?" "Yes, but only if we activate it fully. It requires a special energy source, one that only I can provide." Her eyes locked onto his, a mixture of hope and dread. "I don't understand. I'm part of a race genetically linked to this technology. If I merge with it, it will activate, but it will also reveal my location to the Vicari. It's dangerous." Ethan's heart twisted. "Then we have to protect you." Before she could respond, a harsh metallic clang echoed from the tunnel behind them. The Vicari had arrived. Ethan grabbed a nearby piece of debris, ready to defend. Lyra placed a trembling hand on the device. "Do it now," she urged. Ethan nodded, heart racing as she closed her eyes and began to channel her alien energy into the machine. The glyphs flared brighter, the whole chamber vibrating with power. Suddenly, the Vicari burst through the entrance, towering figures clad in armor, their weapons glowing with lethal energy. "Hold them off!" Lyra shouted. Ethan swung the debris wildly, buying precious seconds as the Vicari advanced. Lyra's form began to glow, her skin shimmering with radiant light. The device roared to life, sending a wave of energy pulsing through the chamber. The Vicari staggered, screams of frustration echoing as the energy disrupted their technology. Ethan fought fiercely, adrenaline fueling him as he defended Lyra. But even as the weapon activated, Ethan saw the Vicari regrouping, smarter, faster, more determined. "We need to get out," Lyra gasped, weakening. Ethan grabbed her hand, pulling her toward a narrow tunnel that led deeper underground. They ran, the sounds of the Vicari pursuit echoing behind them. As they emerged into a hidden cavern, Lyra collapsed, exhaustion overtaking her. Ethan knelt beside her, worry etched on his face. Will it stop them? He asked. Lyra smiled weakly. It will slow them, but this fight is far from over. She reached into her pocket, pulling out a small device. This contains encrypted data, everything about my people, the weapon and the Vicari's plans. Ethan took it carefully. Keep it safe, and promise me you'll keep fighting, for all of us. I promise, Ethan said, determination burning in his eyes. As they rested in the cavern's eerie silence, Ethan realized the truth. This was more than a fight for survival. It was a fight for the future of humanity itself. Secrets unveiled and betrayals. The hidden cavern was cold and dark, yet a strange glow from the alien device illuminated Ethan and Lyra's weary faces. They had escaped the immediate threat of the Vicari, but the danger was far from over. Ethan stared at the small encryption device Lyra had handed him. This data, it could change everything, he said quietly. If the Vicari get hold of it, it's game over. Lyra nodded, her exhaustion evident, but her spirit unbroken. It contains the history of my people, their technology, and, most importantly, the secret to defeating the Vicari. Then we have to get it to someone who can help. Ethan's mind raced. The university had fallen, and Malik was missing. They couldn't trust the government. The Vicari had already infiltrated high levels. Their best hope was to reach out to trusted allies in the underground resistance networks, humans and aliens, united against the invaders. As they planned their next move, a sudden tremor shook the cavern. Dust fell from the ceiling. Lyra's eyes widened. The Vicari are close. They're tearing through the city above. Ethan helped her to her feet. Then we move now. They climbed through narrow tunnels, guided by the glowing glyphs etched into the walls, remnants of a civilization older than human memory. Finally, they emerged into a forgotten subway station, long abandoned, but perfect for covert travel. Ethan pulled out his phone, scanning for a signal. Nothing. Satellite links down. We're blind. We need to find a secure location to access the encrypted data, Lyra said. Then we head to the safe house, Ethan replied. Maya's place. She's part of the resistance. The journey was perilous. The streets above were chaos. Fires burned, alarms blared, and Vicari patrols hunted relentlessly. They moved like shadows, sticking to alleys and abandoned buildings, avoiding any sign of patrols. As they neared the safe house, Ethan's instincts screamed danger. Suddenly, a voice rang out behind them. Going somewhere? Ethan froze. He turned slowly. Standing under a flickering streetlight was a figure cloaked in black, a human but with cold, calculating eyes. Maya? Ethan asked, hope flickering. The figure smirked. Not exactly. Before Ethan could react, the figure pulled a weapon and aimed it at them. Step aside, alien, the stranger hissed. Lyra moved protectively in front of Ethan. I won't let you harm her, Ethan growled. The stranger laughed coldly. You don't get it, do you? I work for the Vicari. Shock crashed over Ethan. A human betrayer? Lyra's eyes narrowed, calculating. We don't have time for this, Ethan said, trying to reason. Why betray your own people? The stranger's smile faded. Because sometimes survival means choosing the stronger side. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps echoed. Vicari soldiers appeared, surrounding them. Ethan's heart pounded, trapped. Lyra's gaze flickered, a plan forming. With lightning speed, she activated a small device on her wrist. A blinding flash erupted, disorienting the Vicari. Using the moment, Ethan grabbed Lyra's hand and pulled her into a narrow side street. They ran, adrenaline pushing them faster than ever. Breathless, they ducked into an abandoned warehouse. Ethan slumped against a crate. That was too close, Lyra nodded. The resistance isn't what I thought. We must be careful whom we trust. Ethan opened the encryption device, connecting it to his phone. Lines of alien script scrolled across the screen. This data, Lyra whispered, It reveals the Vicari's weaknesses, their dependence on a specific energy source to maintain their technology. Ethan's eyes widened. If we can cut off their supply, we could cripple them, Lyra finished. But the energy source is hidden deep within their home world, she said quietly. A mission few survive. Ethan's mind churned. Then we don't just fight for Earth, we take the war to them. Lyra looked at him, a spark of hope in her eyes. We can do this together. Suddenly the warehouse door creaked. They froze. The human traitor from before stepped in, flanked by Vicari soldiers. I warned you, he said coldly. Surrender now, and maybe you'll live. Ethan and Lyra exchanged a look. This was no longer just about survival. It was about fighting for the future. The final stand and the human spirit. The warehouse was thick with tension. Ethan and Lyra stood back to back, facing the human traitor and his Vicari guards. The glow from the encryption device cast eerie shadows on the cracked walls. Give up or die, the traitor sneered. Ethan's mind raced, but his heart remained steady. He glanced at Lyra. We don't surrender, not now, not ever. Lyra nodded, activating a small shield generator, an alien tech she'd hidden on her wrist. A translucent dome flickered into existence, blocking incoming fire. The Vicari soldiers fired blindly at the shield, their weapons buzzing with alien energy. Ethan knew their ammo was limited. This ends tonight, Lyra whispered. Suddenly, the encryption device beeped loudly. Data was fully decrypted. Ethan grabbed the device, eyes scanning the screen. The energy core is vulnerable, but the extraction requires a skilled pilot, he muttered. Lyra stepped forward. I'm the only one who can do it. No, Ethan said firmly. We do this together. Lyra hesitated but agreed. The plan was risky. They would infiltrate the Vicari command ship orbiting Earth, disable their energy core, and cut off their tech supply. The human traitor laughed. You think you can stop us, you're fools. Ethan smiled grimly. Maybe. But humanity fights for hope. That makes us dangerous. The infiltration, under the cover of darkness, Ethan and Lyra reached the spaceport on the city outskirts. The Resistance had secured an old shuttle, battered but functional. They boarded swiftly. Lyra took the pilot's seat, her alien senses guiding her through the stars. The Vicari command ship loomed ahead, a massive fortress of steel and light. Lyra docked silently, and they slipped inside through a hidden maintenance hatch. The corridors were cold, sterile, and patrolled by robotic sentinels. Using the decrypted data, Ethan hacked security systems while Lyra disabled sentries. Finally, they reached the core chamber, a glowing sphere pulsing with strange energy. This is it, Lyra breathed. Ethan set charges around the core, his hands steady despite the danger. Suddenly, alarms blared. Vicari soldiers flooded in. A fierce battle erupted. Ethan fought with grit. Lyra moved with alien agility. Despite overwhelming odds, they held their ground. With a final click, Ethan detonated the charges. The core shattered in a cascade of light and sound. The collapse and escape. The ship shuddered violently. Systems failed, lights flickered, and explosions rocked the hull. Lyra grabbed Ethan's hand. Time to go! They raced through collapsing corridors, dodging debris and fire. Near the airlock, the human traitor confronted them, one last time. Impossible, he snarled. Lyra's eyes flashed. With a burst of energy, she incapacitated him. They ejected into space, their shuttle speeding away as the Vicari command ship imploded behind them. Aftermath and revelation back on Earth, the city was quiet but scarred. The Vicari's grip weakened. Their patrols vanished, and Resistance fighters reclaimed the streets. Ethan and Lyra stood atop a hill, looking out at a dawn tinged with hope. We did it, Ethan said softly. Lyra smiled. Together, we saved more than a planet. We saved a future. But what now? Ethan asked. Lyra looked at him thoughtfully. The Vicari were never just invaders, she explained. Their strength was their control, their fear. We showed them that humanity's greatest power is unity. Between different worlds, different beings. Ethan nodded. That's the lesson. It's not technology or weapons. It's connection. The deep lesson in the days that followed, news spread of the alien fugitive who became humanity's ally. People questioned what it meant to be human, to fight not out of hatred, but hope. Lyra's story inspired a new movement. Cooperation, understanding and exploration beyond fear. The universe was vast and unknown, but Earth was ready. For the first time in centuries, humans looked up not with dread, but with curiosity and courage. Epilogue: Ethan and Lyra, once neighbors caught in an impossible fate, now stood as symbols of a new era. They knew the road ahead would be long and uncertain, but with trust and courage, they would face it together. The garden where Lyra first hid was now a symbol, a reminder that sometimes the strangest neighbors could be the greatest allies. And in that simple truth, the spirit of humanity shone brighter than any star. The end.